All right, so what I'm going to be doing in this video is going over creating a SAP create a supplier invoice test case. So the create the supplier invoice is a tile on the dashboard here. Where did it go here? Right here, create supplier invoice, and it'll just load it up and then add some basic data. I'll just go through the steps that the test case is going to do. Add the invoicing party, and then I'll just put in some random numbers there for that, the reference number, and then I'll add a couple GL account items there, and then add some money, and then we'll do another one, make that a credit, another GL account, just use the same one. That, and then what I'll do is I'll just do a quick check here. So it's just some basic data, nothing too elaborate or involved. And then I'll do a check here. It'll verify this toast message that it successfully checked, and then it'll post it. And then I'll grab the supplier invoice number here, and then I'll click on it just to verify that it was created properly and that it can open up a new tab. It'll close the tab, and then it will say no to this and go back to the main dashboard. And then what it'll do is it'll load up the list here, the supplier invoices list, and then it'll verify that's in the table. Click on it again, and then verify that it can load, and it'll verify the invoice number up in here. So those are the steps that this test case is going to do. So pretty simple, straightforward, good for example. So here I already created the test case, so just for the interest of time, I'll just talk about the test case and drag in stuff as I need it. Let me just go back to the page here. So I use the Tosca's best practices of precondition, process, post-condition, just to help divide the steps into folders to make it readable. So I have my login here, and what I do is I open the URL here, and then there's a wizard dialog that pops up. So I do a wait on for that in here. I wait for it to be visible, then I click true. But sometimes it might not show up. So what I did here was I added this if statement in here. Let me just disable this for now. And what I did, all I did was I right mouse clicked, and then I went into the create the if statement icon here, hit that, and added it. And then what I did was I just added my condition. So my condition is, whoops, it's not in there right now. Here, hold on one sec. What I could do is, let me copy this. Nice thing about Tosca, just copy paste and drag it. We use the test steps. So what I'm going to be doing is just check to see if the dialog is visible. So that's the condition here. So let me put in the verify. I can probably just copy it from here. I just copy this, paste it into here. Let me just get rid of this one. Let's enable this. Okay, and then I don't want to click it. All I want to do is just do a wait on. It's about, I think default timeout is 20 seconds, I believe, for the wait on. So it'll check that it's true, and then if it's true, then it'll click on the OK button. Well, not the OK button, it'll click on the, how can I get it? Let's see here. Let me just do a refresh to see if it pops up if I do a refresh. Yeah, there it is there. So it'll click on the X here, this X here, and I scanned in the X into the module, and it uses the little icon there to identify it. So that's what I used. The title is lead tour. The inText is that little icon. Tag is a button. So that's how I scanned it in as. So let's see if that works here. need this anymore. We'll delete that. That's disabled. Okay, let's just run this. Let's see what it does. Yeah, there it goes. So found it. Let's go in here. We're just going to the scrapbook here. Let's take a look here. So I went through, waiton was successful, and then once I found it, I clicked on it. So it went through the if statement there, no problem. So that helps me a little bit more dynamic. Because sometimes this wasn't opening, and then this waiton will fail eventually. Okay, in the process folder, what I did was, so I had two options here. I could open the tile, the create supplier invoice app, by the URL itself, by using the supplier invoice create title here, or I could clicked on it using the button, the tile itself in here. This is opening it by URL is a lot faster and more accurate. So I open it up using the URL, and then I use the active tab. So the active tab is left over from when the URL, the SAP Fiori application was opened. So I just use that active tab and load up the create the supplier invoice application in the active tab. That's why I have it exist true there. So if I even run that right now, it should do it for me. And there it goes. Yeah, and you can see that it opened up there. But I also can use the tile as well. I'll just show how to use that. I can enable that, like so, and then I'll just run in Scratchbook. Oh, and there's the wizard again, but it still found it and clicked on it right there. I'll just disable that. And you see down here in the Scratchbook that it clicked on it. It's just a green check mark, but it successfully passed. And then I go in and I add some basic data in here. So you can see I scanned in the WebElements here, the drop down, the text boxes, the date. I have to use today's date, so Tosca does have a function that you can use, which is date, and then you can just set the format properly, which is month, day, year, and then the forward slashes, which works great. And then for the reference number, I do a random text here of 5. I do a prefix of RE just to identify it, and then I just type in the invoicing party that I'm using right there. So I can just run that. You see that be inputted all. There we go. Now it's good. So I have a couple seconds here for the refresh, because you notice it did a quick refresh. It's talking back and forth to the database to pull in the data that it needs. I can probably put a waiton for a text field to be visible. I can probably do that as well, which I can do this way. I can do something like this. Let's see here, copy. Let's paste this. Drop that right in here. And so what I want to do now is let's just delete this data here. Okay, so what I do, I'll just disable this, and then let's say the reference. I can look at waiting for the reference to become visible again. So let's just do this. what I'll need to do is, so my action mode is going to be waiton, and then I want to use exist. We'll do. It's going to be visible already, so let's say enabled. Let's try that. There we go. Because there's a brief time there where it disables and then it pulls in the data and then it re-enables itself. So let's see if that behavior works. So let's just do this. Wait for reference text field. Oops. Okay, there we go. Okay, we can just test this now to see if it passes the way it is, and it does. Okay, so what we can do is, let me reset this. Let me reset the data. I'll hit cancel. There we go. So the data has been removed. So let's just try running these two steps together. Let's see what happens. There we go. Yeah, that worked pretty good. So if I go down into the scratchbook here, you'll see the test steps have ran. Waiton was successful. All checkboxes there, so that's good. Okay. That just helps build more resiliency into your test case rather than hard coding waits. This helps make it a little bit more dynamic. Wait for a specific text field or web element to become visible. Okay, so now with that, now we're going to add the GL line items. So this was I had to do a little tweak here to get this to work properly. That's why I have it in its own separate folder, because I'm adding more than one GL account. That's spelled there. And so I had to take a look at how this was being executed here. So when you click on the add button, you get your line item here. Now, these become very unique. Let me just scan this in. So these are going to be generated by some dynamic IDs. So I can't scan them in as a regular web element, just because as you add new lines, all of these get a unique ID. So you can't. Tosca is not going to be able to identify them properly, and will fail. Let me just go into the scanning tool here, so I can show you that. So they have to be treated in a different way. You could use index numbers, index 1, 2, 3, 4, so forth, but that gets a little flaky as well, because you just don't know how many you're going to generate here. So a good approach, to use is the user list and the list items within that user list. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So let me just go in. I'll select one of the items in here, like so, and then I'll drag it all the way to the right, and just to load up the whole DOM. There we go. So this is the DOM structure. So what I'm looking for is the user list container, I guess you could say, which is right here. Just turn that off. So if I uncheck that and then go into here and select that, so and hit highlight, and you can see there it contains the list items, the web elements, drop down list, and the two text fields. So that's what I want to start off with. Now I want to get the list items, which is the LI. So you can see here the tag is user list. come down into here, and I want to get the list items right there. There's the tag is list items. So if I highlight that, oops. Okay, so this is not going to highlight for me, which is fine. You can see it highlights there, but that's interesting why Tosca doesn't highlight it there. I'm not too sure why it does that, but that's what I need, because it's the tagged as the list item right there, and I don't want to use, again, so you can see here, this is the dynamic IDs that get generated, and I don't want that. So what I can do that help, so that works fine. That's okay, just identify it as a custom list item. What I could do is what I'll do is I'll just let's get rid of this, and so we can manipulate the attributes of the properties here, and I'll put an asterisk there, so that it can generate, so that when the ID gets generated, it ignores the ID. Okay, so I need those two right there. I'll turn that off, and then come down into here, and so these are the text fields I need. There's a lot of structure around the DOM, but you want to go and identify the text fields of the GL account. Let's just see what this one is. And highlight, yeah, that's there. And it's okay if it says it's not unique in this case, because we're going to be identifying the full user list right here, based on the row number. So it's going to be indexed, the whole row number, rather than index each individual item. We're going to select the list row by the row number, basically 1, 2, 3, 4. So as you add new rows, this will be 1, this will be 2, and 3, and so forth. Oops, put the wrong one again. So what I need to do is now, let me just minimize that. Pull in the text fields, the web elements that are within that list item there. So I need the GL account text field. There we go. Let me just check this one here. Yeah, that works as well too. I'll set the top one. And then we want to get the amount text field, which is going to be here. We could use amount there. Let's see. Yeah, let's use that. Very good. Excuse me. Okay, so I got I got all the items now to build out the user list here. So I won't save this. I already got the structure. So nice thing about this is you can change this to LI to identify it as the list item if you want to, and which I did. I'll show you. I'll just close this. I won't save it. I already have it right here. So there's my module that I created a separate module for it. There's a user list. There's the list item. So if I go into that ID that I manipulated, you can see there's the asterisk. So I got rid of the ID number that gets generated by the application. And then there's my fields, my web elements. There's my select debit credit indicator there. And again, I got rid of any numbers, any dynamic IDs, and I just used the asterisks. And I did that for the GL account and the amount as well. And they didn't have any dynamic ID, so I just used default name. Okay, so these are contained within this list item, which this list item is contained with this user list. Okay, and so now another configuration parameter that I had to add was explicit name. right here. So that explicit name allows me to change the name of the list item right here on the test step itself. So you can see there's my row number 1. And here I did it for row number 2, right there. So if you go into the test step here, and I'm not selecting the drop-down list item. What I'm doing in this case is I'm just typing in send keys credit and then hitting enter. So if you go here and type in credit and then hit enter, it'll select it for you. So that's all I did there. And then I dropped in the other text, the other items I needed in those text fields there. And I did that for the row item 2, line item 2, and I used debit there. The action modes here, because this is the container, the user list, which contains this. I want to make sure it's selected, which has to make sure it has the focus, and same with this. I want to make sure it has the focus on the row 2. So make sure it's selected, and then I can manipulate the web elements within that list item, which is within the user list container. So that works well for this. It makes it a lot more dynamic. You can use this in a for loop. You can, if you got an Excel data sheet, test data, you can use this test step, this module, the way it is, and add multiple line items in there. So right now I'm only adding 2, credit and a debit. So let's try running that. So we got all that data there, and let me start right here. So the first thing it's going to do is going to click on the add button, and then it's going to add the first line item. Click on the add button again, and then add the row for the second row line items. Okay, let's just try running that. Just going to make sure everything's set up. Go back to the beginning. Let me just delete that. I'll delete that. Okay, there we go. So, okay, we just finished adding in the basic data. So let's add in some line items. Go. There we go. That worked great. So that was a good way to manipulate the user list, the line items in on the supplier invoice. And you can use the same structure for any other GL accounts or any other user lists the same way. Okay, so now once I got those line items entered, let's click the check and verify the toast message now. So let's just run this, check it, make sure everything's okay. There we go. We have this. All right. So you can see here, what I did was there's the success messages. So again, what I did was I used the waiton, and I used cardinality, so I can add. So cardinality allows me to add two web elements to the same test step. I'll go into here, jump to module, go into my toast message here, and so you can see here in cardinality, I set it to n, which is 0 to 1,000, 900, whatever. If you want to put in 1,000 other web elements, go ahead, but you don't want to do that. But by default, it's 1. But I'm going to use n because I want to use more than 1 in here, because I want to set 1 to wait on for the toast message to appear, and then I want to verify that it's there, that the message appeared, and that's the message it's looking for right there. Invoice was successfully checked, and that's what the scrapbook showed here. Now the way I got the toast message, was kind of interesting. I didn't use it the standard scanning way because it appears and then disappears. So Tosca would be very difficult for it to scan it. So I just did a recording for that. And the way you can do a recording is you just come into Automated Testcase here, select the recording button, wait for it to load, and then so it's recording. So to get it going, I'll just click check button here. So there it is there, and then I'll just like click the toast message. There it is. Now it appeared. And then let me stop it. Let's just save it, close it. Now it'll load up for me. There it is. Oops. Let's just bring it. It should be in my workspace. Yeah, right here. There. Let me just close this. So there's the recording. So this helps if you want to help identify some web elements. You can do a recording, and so there's my button, and then there's my when I clicked on the toast message. So that all I wanted was make sure I got the toast message web element in the module here. Then you can see there. And then I just copied this and pasted it into here, and that was it. So that worked good for this web element to do a recording. And then once I just check and verify, I click post. So let's just click post. Step along here, and that brings me into my success dialog. So I scan that in. So I wanted to buffer the supplier invoice number. So I went in, I scanned it. Looks like I scanned it as some type of container here. Let's jump to the module. I used the ID to identify it. And what I did was, as well, is I used explicit name again in here. Because there's a couple things I wanted to do. First thing I wanted to do was I wanted to use the XB buffer, which you can use the full text, supplier invoice, and then you buffer the number that comes after supplier invoice text. And then you use a verify rather than buffer. You use verify. There's buffer there, but when you use XB, you use verify, and then it puts it into the supplier invoice parameter here. So once I capture it, then I want to click it, and so that's why I used back in the module. That's why for the link within that container, the supplier invoice number container, I used the link. I scanned in the link, and then I changed it to explicit name to true. So I can manipulate the name of the link right on the web element itself. So I just brought in the buffer and clicked on the invoice number. So that's what I did there. So let's just run this. There it goes. There, it found it. So if I go into the scratchbook, so you can see that the verification was successful. There, so that's grabbing. So that's the XB, the buffer. So that's the data it captured right there, and then it took that data and then it clicked on the link, and so that's just saying yes, I found it, clicked on it. And then you can go into the tools, buffer viewer, and then go supplier invoice and see there it is. There's the buffer there. Okay, and then in here, now what I did was I just verify that this text here is found within that little container. And again, I use the buffer and a verify. So I went in, I scanned in this label here. It's dynamic. Let me just go into the module. Oops. I just used the title of it in this case. And, oops, sorry. I was on the wrong one, sorry. I use explicit name again, so I can manipulate the name of that container. But I didn't really use it here. Looks like I just used the, I just used the inText in this case. So I didn't really need that explicit name there. Looks like I was just trying it out. But I used inText instead in here. And that can be done, set up through here. So you hit verify, and then I'm going to verify the inText, bring in that buffer. And so it's going to go in and then verify that label up there. So we'll just run it, and there it is there. And then I'll close the tab. So I'm going to close the supplier invoice tab. It's going to be specific. So there's two tabs open now, and I'm going to close the title of the supplier invoice. I don't need it open now. I verified that it opened and that they had the right supplier invoice now. And then I'll click no. Very easy to scan in the yes and no on there. They're pretty easy to find. So we'll close that down. So that takes me back to the dashboard. Now I want to open up the, there's that wizard dialog again. So I think, I do wait and close on it. So we'll just close it. There we go. And then I want to click on the invoice list tile, which I scanned it in as it's scanned in as a button. I go to the module here, scan application. I want that. And it is going to be under procurement there, I believe. Yeah, there it is there. Excuse me. And so I just go and select on, and you can see it's a button in this case there. And like I said, you got to watch out for the IDs. So I don't want to use the ID in this case. And then I think I just use default name here. Was inText. Yeah, inText 38.8. That might change. So default name would work probably best in this, because that it brought in like a subtotal or something there. Whoops. Let me just turn that off. Yeah, right there. So that's probably going to be dynamic change. So you don't want to use that. So let's close this down. Go back into this, and let's jump the module, and let's just see. Yeah, I just used the header in that case, right there. So it was unique with the name, so let's just run it. Should click on it now for us. There it is. It opens it up, and there's our list, our table. So what I did for that was I scanned in the table. So if I go to the module again, and scan, so I can scan in this table. Tosca does a good job of pulling out the tables in SAP. So you can look for it here. There it is there. Select it, show content preview, and there's all the data there. I'll use the header row, column names. So that's what I did there, and that's basically all I did was I selected the table. It's unique. It's the only one on there within the application. You can see there's no dynamic number being generated, so that works good. So let's just close this. So that's what I scanned in there. Let's jump to the module here. There it is there. So it brought in the rows and the columns. So if you go into here, so what I did was, again, I used a buffer, it's my invoice buffer, so I'm going to look for it. So that's what the constraint action mode is. It's going to look for the invoice number in this table, and then once it finds it, internally, Tosca will find the row number. So whatever row number that supplier invoice number is in, so Tosca will make note of it, and then you can click on it. So it'll find the row number using the constraint, find the supplier invoice, get the row number, and then click on it. So let's try that. And there it is there. And then it just opens up the supplier invoice application again, right there. So all I do is I go in and I verify it again, and I just reuse that same module that I scanned in earlier, and then I use the inText. So I will do a waiton and then a verify. And there it is. And that's it. Post condition, I have a sign out, but I don't go all the way. I just click on sign out. Just run that, see how that works. I know, and I don't click on the OK button right now. And that's the test case that I created for that. A little step-by-step review of how I put the test case together and the different elements of Tosca that you can use, configuration parameters that can be used as well in there, buffers. All right, so that was a good walkthrough of the test case and how I put it together. I'll stop there. Thanks for watching.